Graceland Cemetery is the place where tons of historic Chicagoans are buried. I mean, they're famous to historians anyway. Let's be honest, who in Chicago really knows what Charles Wacker ever did, besides having a 3-tiered street named after him? Graceland Cemetery is to history buffs what Graceland in Memphis is to Elvis Presley enthusiasts. It's located on the north side of Chicago, just a couple of blocks north of Wrigley Field. It was built in 1860, about 45 years before Wrigley Field, and it covers about 121 acres, about 117 acres more than Wrigley Field. When I was there, I saw 2 coyotes. 2 more than I ever saw at Wrigley Field. It's where Allan Pinkerton is buried, the guy who started Pinkerton Detective Agency. It's also the final resting spot of Daniel Burnham, the famous Chicago architect, and his partner, John Root, and their competitor, Louis Sullivan. You can also find the grave of founding father Gordon Hubbard, who has a street named after him north of the Chicago River, and Philip Armour, who made Marshall Field, who, like his department stores, is no longer living, has a pretty swanky grave too. George Pullman's stately grave is here too. Pullman owned a company that made luxury train cars in the late 1800s. He created a utopian city named after himself, south of Chicago. When he died, however, he was hated so much by his workers because of his ruthlessness that he had to be buried in cement so his grave wouldn't be desecrated. Cement couldn't, unfortunately, prevent the desecration of Pullman City, which is now a dangerous neighborhood. Potter Palmer and his unfortunately named wife Bertha are buried here with a monument worth more than everything I own. Finally, Graceland Cemetery is the eternal home of the legendary Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks, who was buried here one more time than he ever was at Wrigley Field.